now you find yourself in 82. The disco hotspots hold no charm on you. You can concern yourself with bigger things. You catch a pearl and ride the dragon's wings, because it's the heat of the moment. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we did not go to a communist country and just sneak back in across the Alaskan border on the 9/11 anniversary.
Yeah, oh my goodness, I know that song.
Yeah? Probably.
Yeah, there was a show named after, right? Heat of the Night?
No.
Oh.
Heat of the Night.
Wasn't that what you said, the Heat of the Night?
Heat of the Moment.
That's the song.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got the song right.
No, Heat of the Moment, not
totally
Heat of the
know
Night.
who's singing
Who was in Heat of the Night? It
was the guy from Archie Bunker.
Yes.
Archie Bunker was in it.
Yes.
Carol O'Connor.
Yes.
I don't know who the other guy was, but I just know that Archie was in it.
Right.
By the way,
Yeah.
do you know, speaking of Archie Bunker,
Yes.
do you know that he auditioned to be the skipper on Gilligan's Island?
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Alan Hale beat him out.
Wow.
It's Toto. They sing that, right?
Very close. Same
Really?
Same
Okay.
genre, same
I was thinking of Africa.
same
Hold on.
year, or not year, but same
Be early 80s, maybe?
same kind of grouping of bands. Yeah.
Okay.
What was your first hint to, when they were talking about 1982 in the first line?
Well, that kind of gave it away. I was hoping you wouldn't catch that. Happened in 1982. Cardinals won the World Series in 7.
Yeah, I don't think this song is about that, but
All right, who sings it? I would never get George Michael. I don't know.
it's where we're all going to be under the control of in just a few short years. Asia.
Oh, yeah. Well, it ain't going to be Western Europe, I can tell you that. They're already bowing to whoever will, greases their palm.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I got to say one thing about week 1 in football, though, Jay. Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
How about them Cowboys?
Oh, boy.
You watched that Sunday night?
No.
Shellacking.
Yeah?
I'm sure you were busy watching Cleveland and Seattle or something. But
No.
okay, I just had to say that. I just had to say
okay.
that.
You can revel for the moment.
I can remember for the moment. I'll cry every January as I do since night for the last 28 years.
That's all right. We got one game in the books for the Vikes, and I've already written them off. So it's a
Well, when I looked at their schedule, I chalked up Tampa Bay as a win without thinking about it.
Exactly.
So the fact that they lost just either means they're going to win 3 games or they're just going to go on a tear. It's going to be one of the two.
I suppose it could be.
Yeah,
Could be.
I don't know. If I were Justin Jefferson, I'd want out. But that's just me.
I don't know. That the Lions are in position to win
Lions are
anything is a shame.
Gotta like what Dan Campbell's doing over there. I mean, Detroit.
No, it's Detroit. I don't like it.
Well, but they've been the Siberia of the NFL since the Barry Sanders
well
days.
deserved.
Yeah.
It's Detroit.
D-toilet?
Yes. Detroit. Yes.
D-toilet? I've been through there. Let me tell you something.
I've been in the airport.
It deserves its name.
Yeah.
There's one nice part
Yeah.
of Detroit, and it's where Ford Field is and the Tigers Field. Comerica Park is across the street. There's a big casino.
Okay.
Like kitty corner to that,
Yeah.
and there's some nice hotels. Okay, if you're within like that 6-block radius, Detroit, Joe Louis Arena's not far either.
Oh,
where
yeah?
the Red Wings play.
Huh.
Okay, so there's about an 8-block radius, and the rest of Detroit is you're in you're in an Arab country. I mean,
don't
it's just it's horrible. It's just an awful city. I'll tell you what, it's too bad. It's too bad because Detroit was, what that city was 70, 80, 90 years ago and what it's become.
The automobile industry, rock and roll,
Heavy
Motown.
metal came from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
WrestleMania 3. I mean, it's
First thing that came to my mind.
yeah. I mean, it's just it's embarrassing what's happened to that city and that state. Quite frankly, it's a beautiful state.
Yeah.
And it's just terrible. Got to say something, Jay. I meant to bring this up months ago, and we kind of touched on it, and it got me thinking. It's been 25 years now.
Yeah.
Since the death of a guy named James Earl Ray.
Oh.
And we all know who he is, don't
Yes.
we? Or who allegedly he is.
Right.
And it got me thinking, and I kind of have gotten this as kind of a little research project. You know how I love conspiracies.
Absolutely.
Or as I call them, truth-seeking.
Yeah.
You know, a conspiracy theorist is just somebody who doesn't believe the BS government's giving you or ask questions that they don't want to answer. The more I listen, you know what? I'm going to say this straight out. And look, I don't know who killed Martin Luther King. I don't know who it was. I don't know if Ray did it. I don't know if he was involved. I do not buy that he was there and acted alone. Sorry, I don't. But answer me this, Jay.
Yes.
Based on have you ever studied King's assassination?
I don't know if I've studied it, not to the degree that I've kind of looked more into like JFK and Bobby Kennedy and some of that. I mean, I've obviously.
Yeah, you know the basics.
I know the basics of it. Yeah, you know, and
I know the basics of it too, and that's pretty
I've looked into it some, you know, but yeah.
Well, let me go to Bobby Kennedy.
I know that there's possible FBI. I do know more than I let on. The more I think about it, because the FBI did have him on a list. The FBI was trying to frame him. The FBI
wiretapping him illegally.
Absolutely,
they were doing.
Absolutely, they
J.
were.
Edgar Hoover called him the most dangerous man in America.
Yeah.
So
I do
does
more
that mean
than
anything
I let
as
on.
far as killing somebody? No.
No.
But if I have just uncovered, I mean, I've just peeled off a few papers.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if James Earl Ray went to trial, there is no way he'd get convicted of this.
Yeah, well, especially in 2023.
Well, according to 2023. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe in 1968 it would have been different.
Right.
And I hate this is what the thing about that is so hard to speak about Mr. King.
Yeah.
He has been martyred to the point where it is difficult to take yourself back to the 1960s.
Yeah.
And I know we've touched on this previously, how to me, and this sounds so awful to say, and I know I'm going to get ripped on for saying it. With King getting killed, the most logical place to look in my mind for his killer is other blacks.
Yeah.
That's where I would start. Doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
But that would be my first place to start, because people forget that not everybody was. Who was Malcolm X killed by? A white nationalist?
No.
No. I mean,
we know who Malcolm X was
but
killed by. Yeah.
But people don't. And maybe it's these generations have gone by. All black people were not united behind Dr. King.
True. Because you had the Black Panther part, and you had the King people. You had those that marched peacefully.
You had other factions too. But they're the two loudest.
Those are two loudest. You know, you had the peace through or strength through peace. You know, that nonviolence, and that you didn't strike back no matter what. You let the TV cameras capture you getting beat, getting hosed down. You didn't fight back. Then you had the Malcolm X and the Black Panthers and, you know, all of that stuff. And, you know, again, we know Malcolm X started to walk away from those positions, and that's why he got killed by his own people.
Split in the Nation of Islam, yes. Yeah. I just, you know, and then you look at the FBI and you look at, I mean, J. Edgar Hoover should have been fired 5,000 times in his life, and he knew where the bodies were buried, so nobody touched him. But I mean, the things he called King, they tried to link him to communists.
Yep.
They tried to make a sex tape about him and like send it to his wife.
Yep.
And threatened him to be quiet.
Accusations that he had raped some women. And
they would arrest him and like let him go for no reason, but make sure the cameras saw that they arrested him. I mean, and then the FBI is the one that conducts the investigation.
Right.
And you got to go, okay, wait a sec. You're a suspect in this.
Right.
I mean, until further notice, you're a suspect. So the idea, basically what they have on James Earl Ray is a pair of binoculars, a a gun left behind, and Dr. King's hotel or something circled on a map in his hotel room.
Right.
And this is a guy who like robbed liquor stores. I mean, it doesn't. Look, I'm not saying he's innocent. I don't know.
The ballistics test was inconclusive. Again, those kinds of things feed
happens,
conspiracy theories, right?
But remember, he pleaded not guilty, or he pleaded guilty,
Right.
to avoid the death penalty. And
Right.
After that, he tried to recant. He said, my lawyer, tricked me and something like that. And they wouldn't hear an appeal and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Even the King family has came to question his guilt after a while, especially his son Dexter King. It's an assassination that I feel is not. I hate saying this too, but and I've said this before too. But there's a certain segment of our population that gets fed the angry white guy. It gets fed the Randy Weaver, gets fed the Timothy McVeigh, and even though some of them may be guilty, there's this tendency. It's easy to believe one whack job. Mm-hmm. It's harder to accept that there's elements of our government or elements of people with money that can make things happen. And it's hard. I was raised in an environment to respect these institutions.
Right.
To respect, even though I've always questioned that because my father was, sent to Vietnam and all that, he still had faith in the country.
Yeah.
I think he still does, personally. I mean, I shouldn't talk about him in the past tense. But I have grown so weary of, if I were to lay a bet down on who was telling the truth, government would be 1,000,000,000 to 1.
Yeah.
That they're telling the truth.
Right.
So why is James Earl Ray's guilt or innocence not questioned like others?
Yeah. Well, because Janet Reno did a part 2 of the investigation back in the 90s. They investigated themselves. It was all good, Andrew.
Janet El Reno came in with the. I have confidence now. I mean, I'll shut the hell up now. I guess if Reno investigated, it must be true.
Yeah.
Like Zoe Baird on and everybody else Clinton tried to make Attorney General.
I found some kid in a closet, but.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
And all the questions about the guy who killed him,
right.
who's still around, by the way, still in jail, by the way. There's no question of his guilt, I think, to a point.
Right.
But again, it's the lone guy with no motive, with no history. It's a weird feeling that something like that can happen. It's a weird dynamic. Like, really? I mean, I go to something like Oklahoma City where, you had Nichols and McVeigh. Come on. You don't walk into a Fleet Farm and buy all the stuff that they had, okay? Somebody financed them. Mm-hmm. Somebody else knew what was down. Yeah. Could they have been doing things not knowing what was? Oh, possibly. Yeah. I don't know why you'd go buy dynamite, and I don't know why you'd go buy it, but you don't walk into Home Depot and buy that stuff. Somehow, somewhere or other, there's more there than meets the eye. And what is it with our getting force-fed this lone guy with guns who lives in a cabin, Ted Kaczynski? What is this? What is this? Why does a segment of our population always believe that? And 2, how many times are we going to get fed that before that percentage says that's BS?
Well, you're going to tell me. You're going to sit in that seat and tell me.
Yes, I am. Whatever you say, yes,
that all of these FBI agents stated that Hunter's laptop was Russian disinformation and that they're not telling the truth.
Yes, and by the way,
yes.
I'm tired of having to compliment the rank and file. If you're working for these organizations and you know that this is crap, you're no better than they are. Sorry, but you're not. It's not just There's not just 3 people in a room somewhere who know what's going on. I mean, come on, that's nonsense. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, I don't know. Now I'm getting into that. Now I'm getting into the and look, this is my position. I don't know what happened.
Right.
Some conspiracy theorists, in my opinion, are guilty of believing in a conspiracy and then looking for evidence of that.
Absolutely.
That's not where I stand.
If you can't scientifically prove or disprove theories, and instead you're just looking to prove something right, you're going to prove it right 100% of the time because you will never look at the evidence to disprove it.
And you're going to get hardened in that belief over time. Anytime you're shown opposite, you're going to dig your heels in more.
But that goes on both sides.
Bias,
it goes on both sides. It's the people that believe that 9/11 was an inside job and that 9/11 could never be an inside job. There's confirmation bias on both sides of that. Now, I'm not saying that it ever was an inside job. I'm not of that belief. But yet, you look at Operation Paperclip. You look at what happened in the Gulf of Tonkin. You look at all of this stuff. Our government has done things.
Well,
that
this is my answer to 9/11 since we just passed it.
Yeah.
And I watched Flight 93. My wife and I watched Flight 93 the other day. Do I think it was an inside job? No. Do I think government took the crisis and decided to do stuff with it and take advantage of people's fear? Yes.
Wait,
and that leads to that kind of thing.
So again, you're going to sit there in that seat and you're going to tell me that after 9/11, they didn't just sit down at the desk with a computer or a pen and some paper and write the Patriot Act right then and there.
No, I'm going to say no, they didn't. And our government's actions made no sense all around.
Right.
We're going to go invade other countries. We're going to leave our border wide open. We're going to, I mean, none of that made sense. All in the name of making you safe.
Right.
I mean, Pearl Harbor. Did FDR cause Pearl Harbor? No. Did he secretly maybe go, okay, I got my war now?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying he did it or he knew about it. I don't think that's true. But I think he was there ready to go once it happened. Okay. Now, overnight, everything changed. He had his crisis, and now it was time to go to war, which he wanted to do 2 years before that.
He thought it was going to bring us out of the Great Depression. That's why he wanted to go to war.
Sure, when you have 18% unemployment after 8 years of alphabet soup,
Yeah. All
Nothing like a good war to stimulate the economy.
And you take a bunch of the working population, and you send them overseas, and all of a sudden they don't count in the unemployment numbers either.
Yeah, and then you tell Ford they can't make cars.
Yeah, you got to make tanks.
Anybody, if you sell a 44 Chevy truck, you know it's baloney.
Yeah,
if there's one still out there. I mean, so now I'm immersed in the James Earl Ray stuff because now I've got to figure out if that one is BS or not.
Right.
I mean, I've tried the Sirhan, and I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah. It was MK Ultra.
I wouldn't dismiss anything, Jay. I really wouldn't.
I don't know. Do you believe in MK Ultra?
Now again, do I believe the CIA experimented with stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely.
But
absolutely.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I know they have this unaccountable spy agency that I don't trust, and that's just the bottom line. And President Kennedy, we can go into that. It's a whole 10 shows.
It's a spy agency that is not supposed to have any action within the United States, and we know that they've broken that.
They break it every day. It's sick. And I'll tell you what, you people on the right, you've got to stop supporting these things blindly.
Right.
And I think people on the right have been guilty of that, me included, previously. Not anymore, but I think I used to. I used to kind of, err on the side of law enforcement. I don't anymore. Well, I don't consider the CIA law enforcement. Maybe that's...
I had actually looked into whether I could join them. CIA and the FBI, I looked at probably spring of 2001.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you want to do?
I don't know. I wanted to catch bad guys.
I would
found out
love.
that
I
was-
would love a James Bond assignment. I
Yeah.
would love doing that,
Yeah.
though.
I was too old, too out of shape.
Well,
so it's
that's-
like,
I can't climb around like Daniel Craig, but I would love to do that. I think I'd end up. I always said this: if I lived in the Old West, I'd have been either an outlaw or a gunfighter. I'd have been one of the two.
Yeah.
Probably shot at a poker table.
Right.
That would have been me in the 1880s or 90s or whatever. So. I don't know. I'm intrigued now. Now I got another conspiracy. Add it to the moon landing and to all the other things
Hey,
that I.
speaking of conspiracies, did you happen to check the footage of those aliens that they showcased, the alien mummies they showcased in Mexico yesterday or the day before? Yeah, they looked like.
Were they in Roswell or where were they?
No, they're down in Mexico. I guess they caught them or they uncovered them in Peru, and then Mexico somehow ended up with them, and they uncovered them, and it looked like miniature versions of E.T. They were probably like 2.5 to 3 feet tall, and I could have taken them with my fists.
I'm not sure, Jay. I watched midget wrestling when I was young. I don't want my kneecaps rearranged.
They didn't look very, very nimble. They only had 3 fingers on each hand.
Well,
Yeah.
they got one for each eye. I mean,
They kind of looked like they were chiseled out of stone. Is kind of what it looked like. I don't know.
I'll tell you what. Let me throw another one out. Just one more real quick.
They put a flower next to one of them and it grew. So I don't know what that was about.
Believe in UFOs?
Sure. There's lots of things out there that we don't identify.
That's not exactly what I meant, but I mean, do you think a weather balloon landed in Roswell?
This is probably better suited for your podcast.
Yeah, that's true. We'll have to do that sometime.
Let me just say, I do believe in otherworldly beings, and I happen to believe in angels and in demons that exist in a spiritual realm that can sometimes permeate our physical realm. That being a Christian, that kind of goes with the territory. It's all
does it?
all there in scripture and stuff. So, but I do believe that those things can interfere with our world. I mean, we look at even the creation story, how the serpent tempted Adam and Eve, and that's supposedly, the devil, right? Coming into our world. Plus, there are stories within Genesis where fallen angels came down and impregnated women of the earth, and there were giants that came, like Goliath was part of that race that came out of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I always like the story of David and Goliath, except David used a foreign object. I'll tell you what, though. It reminds me of, I played Trivia Crack one time.
Yeah.
And it said, who were the first two people in the world? Of course, Adam and Eve. And one of the choices was Trump and Hillary. That's what I remember. That's kind of a joke. But, yeah.
Joe Biden, maybe I'd believe. But Bernie Sanders and Joe
Yeah,
Biden.
they were the first two.
Yeah.
Dianne Feinstein.
Right. I guess maybe you need one of each gender.
I would imagine.
Whatever that means anymore.
Don't want to think about Bernie Sanders and Dianne Feinstein, Jay. I need to sleep tonight. I'll tell you what. Speaking of things that are unworldly, can I ask before we get into this climate change stuff? I'm sorry, audience. I'm sorry. I know that we're closing in on 300 shows, and we'll retire at some point here. But I got to say this: I know we've done a lot of climate change shows, but the more we do this, the more. Jay? Let me just back up a second and ask you a general question here.
Yes.
Do you think? Now, I am a person, and I'm going to be very careful how I word this. I do believe the climate is changing.
Yeah.
I do believe the climate changes often.
Yeah. I mean, we were in the 70s looking at a global ice age, right?
How about the late 80s where the Mississippi River damn near dried up?
Yeah.
The worst drought years ever in Minnesota were 1987 and 1988. what is with human beings who are so arrogant that they think they literally can control the weather? I mean, stop and think about it for a minute. If a big hurricane, I remember Hurricane Andrew because it was named after me.
I'm sure.
That was in 1992, 90. I was in high school
Okay.
when that happened. I remember the Red River flooding. That was more like 98-ish, 97. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I remember earthquakes, the World Series one.
Yeah.
Funny thing about those back then, never did I hear the term global warming or climate change.
Yes.
I never heard it.
No.
There were events that happened. There were weather events. There were forest fires.
Yeah.
There were
The depletion
volcanoes.
of the ozone layer.
Yeah, you have hairspray? There were volcanoes that erupted. There were, and yet, if you hear about them today, the first thing you will hear is climate change. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a hurricane coming, and it's Hurricane Jamal heading our way.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get into climate change. Oh, we gotta do this because we got a hurricane. Well, you know what? Every August and September since the beginning of time, there have been hurricanes in that part of the world.
Yeah.
Ain't good. There have been earthquakes on fault lines since the beginning of time.
Yes.
Why do we think that we can control that? If we could control a hurricane, do you think we'd let it slam into our biggest states? And if you think we could control a tornado, why do we think we can control this stuff?
Yeah. Because we're arrogant. That's why.
Who's that arrogant? Who's that? Who says to themselves, the sun is coming up today and I'm going to try to make it less hot?
Well, I know. They're talking about shooting some sort of particulate up into the atmosphere that's going to reflect the sun. No, thank you. No, I need more sun, not less.
Reflect it where?
Back out in outer space, apparently.
Boy, that could be bad. That hits a meteorite, and what could happen there? It's like we went to the moon. Remember, nobody got sick. Nobody saw a solar flare. Oh, sorry, I don't want to get back on the conspiracy stuff again.
Right.
But where did this notion? Now, look, I am for clean water.
Absolutely.
Clean air.
Yep.
I'm for being a good steward. I tell people I don't litter. I use up everything, and I don't throw unnecessary stuff away. I don't use more than I need.
Right.
So I feel like I'm a good steward to the environment. I go on a private lake and go fishing. I still stop at my limit, even though I don't have to.
Right.
Okay. So what is this belief here that if you take my car away from me, somehow Mother Nature is not going to make hurricanes and tornadoes and sunny days and rain like they? If you get too much rain, that's climate change. Too little rain, well, that's climate change.
Yep.
Too much snow, well, that's climate change. Too little snow, it's climate change. Too many hurricanes, too many tornadoes. Oh, not enough. Oh, that's not good either. Okay, so what are we aiming for?
Heat waves in the south, less than hot weather somewhere else. It's
Phoenix gets 100-degree days every day all summer. That's why it's a dump.
Super hot summer in the south, super cold winter in the north. Previous to that,
there was snow on lakes in May. I was up north.
I know.
What are you talking about? That it's but if you accept that, look, there are some things you just can't control. There's just some things you just can't. Mm-hmm. The sun, the earth, the moon, there are some things. We can't stop the earth from tilting. We can't stop it from spinning. We can't stop morning and night from happening. So why do we think we can stop a thunderstorm?
Yeah, it's a great question that.
Here's my other question.
But here's the other thing. Man, however, is asking this question. Scientists and
people who identify
politicians are well, I meant mankind, I guess,
okay.
as a race of whatever. Anyways, why can't we? That's how they approach this. Why can't we?
So it's like President Kennedy?
Yes. It's the moonshot. Oh, they've referred to it.
No, but
as
he
that.
said, I look at things and I ask, why not?
Yes.
I can't do the Kennedy, the Massachusetts accent.
Right.
I don't know. Here's my other part. Why is it that nobody is interested? I shouldn't say nobody. Nobody in the corporate media, how about I put it that way,
Yeah.
looks at anything skeptically. They have some idiot politician talking about climate change, and there is zero skepticism.
Because they've been made part of the club.
There are zero hard questions. There is zero, of course, nobody there is giving up their SUV.
Right. Or plane trips.
Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau meet,
Yeah.
and they have a 20-car.
Yes.
They couldn't meet over Zoom.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that.
Couldn't have a phone call.
Had to go to Canada.
Yeah.
Have 20 cars in a procession. All to talk about climate change and CO2 emissions.
Right.
And it just leads me to think that it's all fake.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's fake because they do admit CO2. That's true. But it leads me to believe, okay, if you're not taking it seriously, then why should I?
Right. Well, because they're too important. They're busy saving the world, so they offset their carbon
That's right.
emissions.
We couldn't live without Joe Biden for a day or two. I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I have no idea.
I mean, what would we do like if he spent 2 weeks at the beach? Oh, wait, he just did.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
when you lead into something dumb like what we're talking about here, if you just accept the premise that there's certain things we just can't control.
Right.
Now, either these cities and these people have nothing to do, that they have to invent things to do. These rich people, because once you have all the money in the world, Jay, the only thing you're missing is power.
Right.
The only thing you have left to get is power.
And when you think you're smarter than everybody else, of course
these people think they do.
Your power is being used in benevolent ways.
Listen to doctors on COVID. I mean, they're so much smarter than you, and even though they ain't been right yet. So, I mean, but that, again, that arrogance, that condescending nature just breeds more of this crap. Mm-hmm. So, if you're these dumb cities, Jay, why don't you... Yeah. I hate to put you on the spot and make you introduce this because I don't want to talk about it. So, what are we talking about here?
Before we get too far into this, I mean, we this is why we're talking about this on a show that talks about local stuff, okay? And let's have this conversation quick before we actually get into this. I know we're a ways into the podcast already, but this is important background information.
If I'm talking, then it's important.
Yeah. Why is this important to localities? Because they are making a push for cities, counties to pick this stuff up and run with it. Why? Because anytime you are putting in an all-powerful government, I mean, and maybe you can help explain some of this, Andrew. The Soviet Union was powerful, but I mean, yes, was it run all out of Moscow? Sure. Just like in China, powerful government. Is it all run out of Beijing? Sure. But they were never going to be able to put most people in gulags or forced labor camps in China if it was just left up to the people in Beijing or Moscow to find people and prosecute them, right? I mean, there's a network that went down to the locality. In East Germany, you had the Stasi that were in every city, every town, but you also had the government of those cities that were on board with everything that they were doing in the capital.
I'm going to take it a step further when you come to here. How many times over the years, Jay, have we talked about you can't get something passed at the federal level.
Yep.
Can't get it passed at the state level.
Right.
So what do?
Go to the
Easy.
cities. Go to the
You go
counties.
to a part-time city council
Yep.
with professionals, I'm using air quotes, running the city and push something through.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how Tobacco 21 started. It's how ranked choice voting has started. It's all of these things. You can go on and on and on down the list. $15 minimum wage. Can't get that through in St. Paul, so we'll start getting it through city by city.
Right.
It's the same kind of mentality. They can't get. There's no way they're going to get this stuff passed in Congress. Even a Democratic Congress wouldn't pass some of this stuff because of their own constituents and their own economies.
Right.
You have to go to a place to start. And of course, it'll start as volunteer, which we all know what that means.
Right.
It's never really volunteer when the government does it. Then the government will start demanding it, or they'll start taxing it, or they'll start eliminating it through code, or they'll start permitting process or whatever. This is all to get the ball rolling on that stuff.
Yes.
And by the way, if the climate is such a crisis, why is everything by the year 2050? That's the other thing I want to know.
Right.
If the world's going to explode, I remember Al Gore in 2006 saying we only had 10 years to go.
Right.
Of course, he was wrong. But, I mean, why is it that everything's by 2050?
Well, that's when they have their goals. They have a set.
That's when they're all dead,
Right.
and they're not held accountable for it anymore.
They have a set of goals by 2030, a set of goals by 2050. And as you look at
Give them
these
a set of goals.
as you look at these plans that are coming out, you'll see that there are a certain set of goals that they need to meet by 2030, where they're ratcheting down and putting this. They need to put their new brave new world into place by the bones of it by 2030, so that between 2030 and 2050 they can make it complete.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
How old will I be in 2050?
I don't know. I try not to think about that kind of stuff.
73. I'll be 73.
Yeah. You'll be alive and kicking.
Well, maybe. I'll be on a lake up north somewhere. My wife and I will be up there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll be the
If
former
they haven't
governor.
closed that off to human development.
I'll be the former governor, so I'll have to have somebody watching my back or something, probably.
Yeah.
A fenced-in something.
I don't think you get Secret Service as a governor.
Oh, don't
I don't know how State Patrol, I don't know how that works.
Pay off.
Oh.
It's true.
All
So
right.
Jay, enlighten us here. Enlighten us.
Well-
I don't want to have to read anything. So
You
just-
don't want to read anything.
No, you just tell me a story.
Oh my goodness. So word. There are all these goals that are going into place.
Now, who's this? Who's this, by the way? We gotta,
Okay, so-
we got to tell people where we're
World Economic Forum, right, has these meetings every year in Davos.
I hate them.
But they work with some groups that then go off and they have these other conferences throughout the year. Sometimes they're in Brazil, sometimes they're somewhere else, where they get together and talk specifically about the environment or specifically about what to do as far as like racial and LGBTQIA plus things. But they've come up with, and they being there's a group called ARUP, ARUP. ARUP.com is where you find their stuff. And then C40 cities. The C40 cities, there are American cities that are a part of that. They have come up with this great plan.
Yeah, and you know who they are, the big blue cities.
Right. To put...
Can't believe Minneapolis isn't on
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
Are they
let's not give them any
voting on it
ideas.
next week or something?
Let's not give them any ideas. I'd rather they not be part of it.
Where's Amber Fry? You vote on that?
But so with these C40 cities, they are putting in these ambitious goals, if you will, to try and reduce emissions between now and 2030, and then now or 2030 and 2050.
How many Mexican cities are on this? You know the emissions from their food? I emit plenty of things after. I like that kind of food, but it doesn't like me.
The Taco Bell maybe has more than some.
I could blow a brick house down.
So yeah, they're putting these action plans into place. Why not always have an action plan, right?
Talk about government corporate speak. You got an action plan,
right?
We're gonna streamline. It.
Yes, indeed. So, and we always talk about the ESG goals, right? Environmental, social, and governmental. So key components of climate action planning are emissions neutrality and resilience to climate hazards.
Does that mean they don't favor the Allies or the Axis?
Right, absolutely.
So we're all Switzerland?
We're all Switzerland or Sweden.
I'd like to take that. I'd be them in a heartbeat. I get all the money.
Right. So there's emissions neutrality and resilience to climate hazards. That's all part of the E, the environmental. Inclusivity and benefits, which is part of the S, the social, and governance and collaboration, which is part of the G.
What does inclusivity have to do with the environment?
Well, because if you're a racist, you're putting more emissions in the air. I
am?
Yeah, I don't
What if I'm a racist that sells my car?
What they try to say is that there are certain places where it's not an equitable distribution of benefits to combat climate change. So, yeah. They want everybody to have the opportunity to implement this plan. So many rapidly developing cities, they believe they can maintain their current levels for up to a decade. In a small number of cases, there's some scope for emissions per person to rise slightly before they fall to zero, but they want everybody's to fall to zero. And so
emit nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
How can we admit nothing?
Well, you have offsets and things like that. Carbon, everything you have to the government, allowing them to manage.
That's cap and trade. I can pollute if I pay a tax.
I wish it was only cap and trade.
Yeah, cap and trade would be nice.
That's also you own nothing and you're happy, right?
Well, right. That's what you get what you're told. I mean, isn't that Animal Farm? Come on.
Yeah.
I read 1984 and 1988.
Yeah, I did.
Maybe it was later than that. I know I've read it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, there are a number of cities then that have signed on to this already, saying that they are going to do their best to make sure that they come into line to do their part, to make sure that there are the reduction in emissions that we need.
Well, I want to say something too here. There's an article here in The Guardian, Jay, that you sent me, and I think this is where that fine line between how do I put it? Between volunteering to do things and the government actually forcing it on you.
Yeah.
Because if you read this article, the headline is 6 key lifestyle changes that can help avert the climate crisis. Mm-hmm. And you will see these pop up in the C40 things. It's amazing how together they are. Tom Bailey, co-founder of this campaign, this ends once and for all the debate about whether citizens can have a role in protecting the earth. We don't have time to wait for one group to act. We all action from all actors now. No time to wait. None whatsoever.
Right.
The world is reaching the edge of ecological collapse.
Oof. That sounds serious.
Now, this campaign, what do they call this? This is the JUMP campaign. I don't know what JUMP stands for.
It's a song by Van Halen.
No,
I think it's to bring that back onto radio.
Yeah, it's those other guys, too. They were on Arsenio Hall.
Oh.
Criss Cross will make you jump.
Sure.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
All right. I liked Arsenio.
I think that's what this is about.
Okay. Number 1, Jay, and I know you do this.
Yes.
Eat largely a plant-based diet with healthy portions and no waste.
Let me tell you. Let me just take a moment and tell you. I know we're on number 1 already, and I'm going off. When I go to the grocery store and I see plant-based solutions, plant-based, I want to rip the door open, throw everything on the floor, and do a dance on it.
I just go to the next thing.
Yes, because I know that all of this plant-based stuff, it is politically motivated. This isn't market-driven. Are you kidding me? They're pushing it in the market, and at the risk of sounding conspiratorial, I think that a lot of the things that they have done to our food, Monsanto and whoever with the genetic engineering, have made people allergic to things they were not allergic to 30 years ago. Yes. And because of that, people are looking for options that get them away from foods that they have a reaction to.
Or they want to lose weight because of all the garbage put in our food as well.
Right.
There is some truth to that. I will say this, though. It ain't working. People are buying this stuff.
I know.
That's why they have to try to force this here.
Right.
Because if everybody was buying this, go to the supermarket and look at the chicken, the beef, the steak, and look at the plant-based stuff and tell me what they're out of.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's not. I go to Anoka Meats out there, the place is packed.
Mm-hmm. And you look at what's expensive,
of course.
What's
organic
up in price. And
the groceries have gotten expensive enough.
Right.
It's just,
Yeah. And while we're on that point, let me just, to quote the C40 cities on this, they actually believe, where was it? But 75% of food emissions come from meat.
When you say food emissions, are you talking about?
No, I'm not. Well, I mean, yes, but with cows.
Okay, but cows exist whether we eat them or not, don't they?
Yes, they do. I guess.
What are we gonna do?
maybe
Make cows extinct?
Not extinct, because the rich and famous, the elites, are still going to eat steak. They're not going to eat Impossible Burgers.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on,
that's for us peasants.
They're going to be on Bill Gates's farms, and they're going to harvest those, raise them, and they'll have their own network of getting meat. They're not giving that stuff up. Yeah.
But I mean, cows are animals. Animals produce waste. Animals break wind. They have since the beginning of time.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's true.
I want to move on to number 2.
Yes, please.
This is really going to affect you.
Yes.
Buy no more than 3 new items of clothing per year.
Yeah.
Jay, you're going to have to turn that underwear inside out.
Kind of already doing that. But
So no more than 3 articles of clothing. So if you need underwear and 2 pairs of socks, you can't buy any shirts.
Right.
What are you supposed to wear? A potato sack?
You better not rip your pants.
Yeah, no kidding. Come on.
I know. Does that mean that
Who doesn't laugh at that?
Does that mean that I can go out and kill something and make clothing out of the hide? Then I'm not purchasing it.
I don't know.
Probably not, because I can't eat meat, right? I have to have a largely plant-based diet, so I won't be able to hunt or fish.
It's true.
Yeah.
Can't do any of that. Why can't you go fishing? Do fish emit CO2?
Suppose. You ever seen bubbles come up out of a lake?
No, it's just my bathwater.
Yeah.
All right. This is another one. I'm keep electrical products for at least 7 years. Why?
If it doesn't work, I'm not gonna.
But I thought electricity was neutral.
Right.
If I have an electric stove versus a gas stove, aren't I being more environmentally friendly according to these people?
Yeah. Even though the power's coming from a coal-fired power plant.
This is true.
Yeah.
Especially with an electric car.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to mine copper for the batteries. Who's against mining copper?
And
Same
cobalt,
people. Yeah.
and which is usually done by children in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So thank you
which
very
we all
much.
turn our backs to. Of
Yeah.
course. We don't pretend we don't see that.
Yeah. I'm not going to buy a slave car for about as long as I can. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
all electrical products.
Right.
So that blender that you've used twice over the last, you got to keep it 7 years before you get a new one, Jay. Just remember that.
Yeah.
All flight every 3 years, and one long haul flight every 8 years.
No.
8 years?
No. Let me tell you,
So should I drive instead?
we have a right to travel.
No, we don't. Since when do we have a right to travel?
Absolutely.
You got a right to take public transit where the government wants you to go.
Right. Well,
You got a right to walk down the path that they built, they pave, they sweep, and then charge you for.
Yeah.
That's what you got a right to do.
right.
You got a right to smoke pot, okay, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So, hey, look at it this way, Jay. Somebody dies in the next 8 years, and you've already used your one long haul flight.
Yeah.
You can't go to their funeral.
Right.
Think about that.
Well, it worked during COVID, right? Nobody got to go do anything with anybody for anybody.
Well, and all the sheep all followed it.
Yeah.
How about this beauty? This is one that I don't understand either. Get rid of your personal motor vehicle if you can. Okay, I can't.
Yeah, I can't either.
And if not, keep hold of your existing vehicle for longer. Why? I thought, wouldn't we want to buy an electric car?
Yeah.
So I should keep my 2001 Ford F-150 that gets 15 miles to the gallon? Mm-hmm. That's what I should do?
Right.
The hell are they talking about?
Yeah. That's no. No, I'm not giving up mine.
Aren't engines built better? Are we more fuel efficient than we were 10 years ago?
Yeah.
So a newer car, wouldn't that actually be probably better than an older car?
Yeah.
Older car's exhaust system?
Yeah.
0 cents. That makes sense. You got 0 deaths, and we've got whatever ground zero or whatever all those things are. We're going to start calling this 0 cents.
Yeah.
That's what makes 0 cents. So make at least one life shift to nudge the system, like moving to a green energy, insulating your home, and changing your pension supplier. What? My pension supplier?
They want you to go with BlackRock or somebody that has like an ESG fund rather than.
Well, who has a
investing
choice of where their pension is?
I don't know.
If you retired 15 years ago, how do you change your pension supplier?
I don't know. That's
Nobody has a pension anymore, you government fools.
well, government has them.
We work, we save, we invest. We don't invest in your garbage. You know, you put money where I do. You know why, Jay?
Yeah.
Because I buy silver. I have IRAs. You know why? Because when I retire, you a-holes in government can't touch me. You people with 401ks out there, yeah, you wait till the government taxes 25% of it.
Yeah.
What state taxes Social Security? What state is that? Yes, whatever you think you have for your retirement out there, yeah, you're going to have a lot less. Mm-hmm. Except me. I sell all my silver, Jay. I'll be on a lake up north.
Right. Well, if they let you.
Fine. And you know what? I buy treasury bonds. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
And I'm going off on a rant.
You might be able to be on a lake in North Minneapolis.
Fine. But I will be on a lake somewhere, and I'll get rid of everybody around it. Let me just say this. Why do I buy treasury bonds? Why would I buy treasury bonds, Jay? Why would I do that?
Well, because the U.S.
It's not the rate of return.
Shouldn't default on their own.
Here's my theory.
Yeah.
When the Chinese take us over, and they will, they could today, but they want to hold on to their communist government more than they want to take over the world.
Right.
Guess what's going to happen? They're going to pay me.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Really?
You take over the country and you destroy everything, but you're going to pay me in the process. You call those bonds in, fine, because they'll come in, they'll flood our bond market. Your bonds that you owe will be worthless,
Okay.
but I'll get paid.
Okay.
Those treasury bonds, I'll get the money.
All right.
So fine. You're gonna put me under communist Chinese? At least I got money.
Okay. Oh, goodness. That's not funny.
All that for a 4.7 rate of return.
Yeah. Well, they say in this article that analysis of the data has found that 6 steps set out above could cut global emissions by between 25 and 27%.
That's it?
Yeah. All of that pain for 25 to 27% of emissions. Oh. Yeah, that's awful. I don't know. There's no other way to say that. It's just awful. So
By the way, I want to know how many cities in China have signed on to this.
Pretty close to 0.
Because here's my theory:
Yes.
if we cut down and they don't, how's that 27% looking?
Right.
They build 2 coal plants a week, but we decommission ours.
Right. Well, and before you go around saying, well, of course Europe's going to do it, they're losers. But that'll never happen here. Los Angeles City Council embraces meatless Mondays. Now, that was a while ago, but they've been trying to push these things for a while.
Is anybody listening? Is anybody doing it?
Yeah. There are the C40 cities here in the States have signed on to this.
Right. But is anybody, hey, we've passed a declaration saying we're going to have meatless Mondays. Well, who's doing it outside of them?
Nobody's doing it.
I'd like to know the LA City Council. You ride your bike to the city council meetings?
No.
Of course they don't.
Nope.
I remember we went through this in Crystal.
Yeah.
We had people who lived blocks from City Hall who drove there.
LA is so spread out that most people won't even take public transportation in LA.
Hey, but you
It's-
can't.
right.
It doesn't take you where you want to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. So what do you do? It's
Now look.
Yeah.
Now I believe that to a degree transit should exist. I've been to New York, so I understand there's areas that need transit. But the idea that the only way they can implement all this, Jay, is to kill off rural areas.
yeah.
Herd everybody into a city. That's the long-term goal.
Right.
Is to destroy, here in the United States, is to destroy rural America. That's the long-term goal. It's all part of getting rid of the Electoral College and so on and so forth. It's all to render, it's all to have 10 big cities around the country. So, they are moving forward with a lot of this stuff. It's probably painfully slow for them.
Right.
Although it's painfully fast for me.
North American cities that are in this travesty of an organization.
You can guess them. Let me try to guess them.
Yeah, all right.
DC.
That's going to be out of order. You're going to give them to me out of order, aren't you? Yes, DC's in it.
New York.
Yep.
San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
Obviously LA. Houston. Austin.
There's Austin. There's Houston.
Boston.
Right in the great state of Texas. Yeah. Boston, yes.
Chicago.
Chicago, yes.
We said LA already. There's got to be some more cities out northeast. Well, I got to say, if you say North America, I got to put Toronto on there.
Yeah, Toronto's on
Vancouver.
there.
Yeah. Ottawa. No Ottawa?
No Ottawa.
Huh, the capital of Canada?
Yeah.
I got one wrong then.
Wow.
Yeah. What big cities am I missing? Give me a hint.
There's 3 of them that
Atlanta?
No Atlanta.
Okay.
There's 3 of them that start with a P.
I said Philly.
Yeah.
3 that start with a P. Pittsburgh?
No. Think of the one that does every stupid thing.
Oh, Phoenix.
Well, okay. Think of the other one that does every stupid thing, and then some.
Okay.
But yes, Phoenix is on the list. Yes.
I can't think of another one.
Portland.
Oh, yeah, sure. Portland, of course.
And it's twin stupid
Seattle.
city,
Seattle's
sister
gotta be
city.
there.
Yeah. Seattle. You've got Nolens,
Wow.
Montreal, Miami.
How could I have missed Miami, what we talked about beforehand?
Right.
Their marvelous mayor,
Yeah.
the Republican, quote unquote.
Yeah, he didn't stand a chance. Anyways, so
Rightly so.
those all of those have signed on to this. And if you think, oh, thank goodness, Minneapolis, St. Paul aren't on that list. Minneapolis and St. Paul are involved in so many other environmental type things.
And it
this
gets more
will
radical and
come
radical.
around. It will seep around to these other groups. It will be and what happens every time that California does something, we have the same emission standards. We adopt it after they do. I mean, we signed on to that, didn't we?
Executively, I
Yeah.
think so. I don't
Yeah.
think we did by legislation.
Okay,
But
because they went and they wanted I thought signed on to their CAFE standards. So when they said they were going to get rid of gas powered cars by 2030, we kind of followed suit with that, or at least said we were going to stop the sale of them by 2030.
well, we'll see about that. I think that's blustering to try to force the private sector to do it.
I think so too, but I think that there's going to be enough demand for it, especially when it's been found out you can't really take a road trip in an electric car. It's just not feasible. And
I question whether you can get to work in an electric car. It's 10 below out? I mean, really?
Right. And
What if I don't have a garage?
And what happens if we don't have the same access to electricity as we do now because of the load it's going to put on the grid? And you take into account that these batteries only last for so long, and it's like what, 28,000 for a new battery or something like that. So these cars are not going to hit the second market, and if they do hit the second market, the battery life is not going to be in a very good place for somebody to actually make an investment into a car like this. It's not going to last long enough.
Well, I still believe part of the goal is to just get rid of cars altogether.
Well, yes. I mean, and it said that in there, right? Get rid of
Voluntary
give up your own transportation so that you can take public transportation.
Yeah, you can go where the government wants you to go, tells you to go, so on and so forth, so you can be controlled. Now, but I come back to this. I still come back to this. Why do we think we're so powerful that we can change the climate in this world? Mm-hmm. And by the way, how many people are in the United States versus China? Well, it's like 5-1.
Yeah,
4-1.
something like that.
So if we do it and they don't,
Drop in the bucket.
How are we gonna change anything?
Drop in the bucket.
Impossible. So I mean, but again, I come back to the Chinese, and I've said this before. We have no leverage over them. We can't make them do anything.
Right.
China. Yeah. Well, hey, you want to call those bonds in? Hey, we ain't doing squat. Russians aren't doing it. Growing countries of Asia, they're not doing it either. And Asia's the future of the world. Sorry that it is. I mean, it's Europe and North America have had its day, but their day's gone. So, I mean, the idea that we're self-destructing, and this is accelerating our self-destructing. We should be outpacing China.
Yeah.
Our goal should be to stay ahead of them.
Right.
Not fall further behind. And that's what's happening is we're falling further behind. I mean, we had no control over nothing anymore. We could have all the energy we want to if we do it all here.
Yeah. Could. It could be cheaper again. It could be plentiful.
We're way better at child labor, aren't we? We're way better at that.
And you mean by not engaging in it?
Yes.
Not by like, we make our children work so much better than they do.
Yeah. I was hoping everybody would catch the joke.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I think this stuff is unworkable. But you know what? I say that, but 30 years ago, I could have never imagined this.
Right.
I could have never imagined a world, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I credit G. Gordon Liddy, because he's the first person I heard say this. He wrote a book called When I Was a Kid, This Was a Free Country. Great book. Is he still around, G. Gordon Liddy?
He might be.
Whatever the case. Great book. I read it in an airport. It was wonderful. And his premise of the book was, you can't lose freedom if you didn't know it.
Yeah.
You didn't know freedom. If you're 20 years old, you don't know freedom the way you and I do. Mm-hmm. You don't know communism the way you and I do.
Right.
Just like I don't know Nazism from somebody my grandfather's age.
Right.
Okay?
But
they're still around.
Like Reagan said, once a generation loses freedom, we're never going to get it back.
And we are never going to.
Just because they don't have the understanding of why it's important and why you have these snot-nosed kids running around trying to shut everybody up. Amy Coney Barrett is coming to the U of M to speak, and there are groups already mobilizing to shut it down.
Of course there are. Liddy passed away in 2021.
Oh, that's too bad.
He was 90 years old.
Huh.
Yeah, of course not. There's no freedom of speech. You don't want that.
But they don't understand this. They don't understand why it's a good thing that the rank and file of the United States have the right to carry a firearm to protect their lives, to protect their families, to protect their community. They don't understand why that's important. They don't understand why it's important that the government just can't go in and look at all your stuff without a warrant stating the exact place and thing to be searched.
I tell you what, too. Tell you this much. You know what is not understood is I remember a world without social media. I remember a world without cell phones.
Yeah.
I remember a world, and while that stuff is cool, Jay, if you gave me the choice, I'd go back.
Yeah.
But then we couldn't do this show. See, there's great things about it too.
Yeah.
We have alternative media, which we could not have. We'd have ABC, CBS, and NBC's monopoly.
Right.
But man, if you don't know a world, there's a fondness for a world of no technology, isn't there? I mean, just think. I remember having to watch ESPN and wait for the ticker at the bottom to get a sports update. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, I have the ticker in my hand, but I mean, it's just something they don't know that world either, and so it's scary. I mean, it's just scary.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like there's a generation, if you were in the 50s and 60s and you were a kid and you thought nuclear war was a possibility, your parents probably thought the same thing about the 20s and 30s. The Depression wasn't so bad. At least we didn't have a nuclear war threat. The good old days where we just had to live on apples.
Right.
I mean, there's, it's just... The not understanding what freedom means and thinking that you don't have to debate anybody, you can just get rid of voices that you don't like.
Yeah.
And how scary that is.
Right. Well, and we've seen this. I mean, it's not just the snot-nosed kids either. I mean, it's the baby boomers who should know better.
Who do you think they learn it from?
Right.
I mean...
The baby boomers, they're the ones who are running things. They're the ones who are working with social media companies to shut out voices they don't like, hiring the experts to come along and say that, well, that opinion is controversial.
The
it's
experts
a
all came from the
theory.
all came from the DNC.
Ugh, yes.
That's who's working in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And I'll say this much, too. I think the people we're talking about today are nut jobs. You think I'm a nut job? Okay, And by the way, we're on the subject of assassinations. There's another one I'm looking into, and that's Huey Long. That's another one I'm looking into.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know the story of that either. I won't get into it now, but that's another one I don't believe the official story. However, and the great part about Huey Long, that is where I believe the weaponization of the federal government began, because I think FDR used the IRS to investigate him. That's my theory.
Yeah.
that he weaponized the IRS. He never got Long, but he got some of his associates. And I think FDR did that to neutralize Long for 1936.
Well, and of course he did. I mean, that whole period, I mean, you could even go back to the weaponization of government under Wilson. I mean, and it,
we're at all the
and then you go into actually seeing, Japanese Americans being thrown in internment camps, German Americans being thrown in internment camps. You have the NRA, which was coming down on American business that didn't fly the Blue Eagle in the window.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Now, was there a possibility that did people really think Japan was going to invade California? That's what I've always heard, that was...
Yeah.
That was the fear.
There was a fear there. I don't know that.
Anyway, my point is this. I think these people are whack jobs.
Right.
But I'm not trying to shut them up. I'm not trying to take away their social media platforms. I'm not preventing them from speaking.
I want to know who they are. If they are thinking things this dangerous, I want to know about it.
But let me tell you something. The people who advocate this crap would shut us down in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
They'd shut Glenn Beck down in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
They'd shut Tucker Carlson down in a heartbeat.
They did shut Alex Jones up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They have tried
They
to make...
still have. Outside of his website, he has no... And who knows? That could be taken away. They could go after his website host, couldn't they?
They could.
He probably hosts his own, but
he probably does. If I were him,
InfoWars,
I would have servers on site. Yes. I would not use Amazon. I would not.
But you can't.
But that was the mistake that what's it called? Used the what was the name of that social media site that conservatives loved, and it was starting gaining some steam, and Amazon shut them down.
Oh, I don't remember.
It went away into the night. Hasn't ever come back.
Yeah, it did. What was it called? You got to look it up.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing too.
It's become so irrelevant. I can't even remember what it was called.
It was like Peacock or something.
Something like that.
It all was a response to Trump getting kicked off Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. You're blanking me now. But,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you see the same thing with people getting labeled as hate groups. I mean, hate by who's... Parlor, okay. Yeah. I thought it was a Peacock.
Yeah.
You get labeled a hate group by somebody who disagrees with you. And that's become a thing now. The Southern Poverty Law Center, the leaders of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgraceful. You disagree with somebody, you're called a white nationalist. These people don't know what a white nationalist is.
No, they
wouldn't
don't.
know one if it bit them in the ass.
No. White nationalists. That's what the Nazis were.
But you know what?
Yes.
I'm going to say this, and this sounds bad. They have a right to freedom of speech.
They do.
I mean, I don't like what they say.
I disagree with it 110%. I don't agree with one word of what they say. But they have a right to say it, and it's important that we let them say it because, again, we
Make
need
them hang
to know.
themselves, too.
We need to know who those people are, because they're dangerous. And that way we know to stay away from them.
Let them talk and amplify what they say. It just makes them look worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Kind of like Eric Swalwell. Not calling him a white nationalist. I'm just saying...
He doesn't know what one is.
He puts his foot in his mouth enough that
he needs a shoehorn to get it out. I mean, freedom of speech, freedom, just generally speaking, is just so precious.
Yeah,
and it's amazing too how many like when I see people saying women have no rights in this country. Do you know how women are treated in a lot of countries in this world?
Terribly.
There are women, go to the Middle East. You tell me and come here and you tell me which country's better at treating women.
Yeah. Women were finally allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia within the last few years.
Right, but my point is that women are treated, I think that there's a belief among some that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
Women are equal. What are you talking about? United States is behind the time. No, they're not.
Look what we're doing to
It's
women
more
in
BS.
women's sports right now.
Yeah, we're destroying them.
Yeah.
Why do we have women's sports? That's my question. Why don't we just throw boys and girls or whoever identifies as what in the pool?
Yeah.
Let them swim. See who wins.
Yeah.
Notice we don't do that, though.
Right. Heck, let's just mix everything together, and we'll mix sports too. Why don't we throw Leah Thomas in with Mike Tyson or something like that, and see how that works?
Yeah. Well,
out.
here's my other thing.
Yeah.
If you can't define a woman, this is the thing that where I chided conservatives with Justice Jackson because they did a great job mocking her and a bad job of questioning her legally.
Right.
If you can't define a woman, doesn't that make Title IX null and void?
Yeah, that would be my follow-up question.
It's null and void. Mm-hmm. Can't define a woman, then there's no victim.
Of course, she would just say, "I cannot tell you how I would rule on a."
Is it Me Too irrelevant?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Except when they want it to be.
You can't define a woman, so you can't define a victim.
Right.
Not possible. One or the other.
But here's the thing with the left. They have figured out a way to have it both ways. Because nobody
In
ever
their
calls them on
minds,
it.
yeah.
Nobody ever calls them on it.
Roe v. Wade gets overturned, and all of a sudden, liberals remember what a woman is.
Yeah.
Amazing how that happens.
Right. But yet you can have pregnant men, and now you have...
I want to meet that guy.
Yeah, I don't.
How do you give birth? Out the back door?
No.
Dude, coming out my back door.
Oh, boy. The this
contractions.
Isn't, there,
the contractions.
Yeah. It's nothing a good dose of Pepto-Bismol won't fix.
I love it.
Yeah. Anyways. There was somebody recently, a woman that says she wants to be the first pregnant man so she can be the first transgender to have an abortion.
Oh, well, that's what a goal.
Yeah,
life.
what
Let's
a goal.
Get them on Dr. Phil. Bring Dr. Phil
these
out
are
of
the people
retirement.
that, I mean, again, every right to say that, but,
but
you're showing everybody what a monster you are.
We have every right to ridicule it.
Yeah.
It's just, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Just when you think it can't get more wacko,
Right.
it always can. That's the great thing. It's just no matter how far you think it goes, somebody will take it a step further.
Right. Well, that's...
It's just never enough. You can't please the woke mob. Is never happy. You know what? Here's the number one reason I'm glad I'm not part of the woke. Now, you know that my political views have changed over my lifetime.
Yeah.
They're changing all the time, to be honest with you, because of my endless cynicism. But you will not find more miserable human beings than in the woke movement. They're always angry. They're always hateful. They're always pissed off. They're always, it's like, guy, you need therapy.
Yeah.
That's what you
anyone who glues their hands to a road to block traffic. You need
You're lucky I'm not driving.
something better to do.
You're lucky I'm not driving. How about get a job?
Yeah.
How about that?
Well,
how come
that
these
would be
people
something.
never work?
Yeah. Well, why don't they work? Why don't they shower? I don't know.
Yeah, they're wearing a motel shower curtain.
I don't know.
I don't understand it. Again.
Yeah.
I support their right to say it and do it, but
I do not support
there.
their right to block traffic.
No, they
I
don't
do
have a
not
right to
support their right to destroy art. I do not.
no, that's vandalism. That's
That,
crime.
that's not a right.
Yeah.
To make sure people like Amy Coney Barrett can't speak at the U of M.
No, that's not
that's
free
censorship.
speech. Yeah,
That's
it is.
censorship. You can express your right to disagree with her. That's fine. And you can
think she'll come?
can
Do you
stand
think- do you think-
on campus and you can pick
think-
it, but
you think
you
the
can't
U-
interfere with her right to speak.
You think the U will keep it? and keep
I'm
it back
surprised they're having her at all. I'm surprised that
I wonder
that
if it's some sort
campus,
of ambush. I don't
that
know.
could be.
If I were Barrett,
that could
I
be
would
because we've seen a lot of that where Riley Gaines
Yeah.
went to go speak at a school and she got locked in a closet for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because
People are unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
And I would argue that the President of the United States is guilty of that because he egged it on. He egged on. This is one thing I hate about Biden. He will never stand up, ever, to anybody to his left. He never stands up to them. Not
Absolutely
once.
not.
And the other person who pointed that out to me? Bill Maher.
Yeah.
Bill Maher went off on a tangent one day about, because he's against all this transgender stuff and blah, blah, blah. He just went off on it, saying, Biden will not take a stand ever against anything, no matter how ridiculous it gets. Mm-hmm. And I mean, to have a woman, Mr. Woman's Rights, have a mob lock her in a closet and have to like drag her out with like policemen on horseback. You're okay with that? I mean, I know, Mr. President, I know you're probably getting your diaper changed while that was going on and took a little nap. Yeah, got it. And you had your pacifier. But I mean, you can't speak out against that?
Yeah.
I mean, 30 years ago, Jay, that would have been condemned by almost everyone in this country.
Right.
I mean, 90% would have.
Yeah.
And now it's...
I don't think it's getting shown in most places. I don't think people have a chance. So many people have tuned
corporate media won't show it.
Corporate media won't show it, and a lot of people have just tuned out.
You have a point, though, that I didn't know about Riley Gaines till I saw a congressional hearing on it, and it was, I don't know if it was Senator Kennedy or Hawley or one of them who brought it up. I didn't hear about it. I didn't know about it until then.
Yeah.
So you have to assume, 80, 90% of the country hadn't either. And that's when they had all those people who couldn't define, poor old Senator Kennedy was just he was not a happy camper. Just 20 genders. I don't want to call it funny because it really isn't funny.
No, it's the destruction of an entire generation of our future.
But, I want to get back to this climate stuff real quick here because look for... I don't know if I want to call it segments of this to a town near you. We've seen it already with the zero deaths and the zero emissions and LEED standards and new building codes and
that's all at the local level.
New requirements for businesses they have to do. They're not grandfathered to this or that. It will creep in because, again, the professionals that run these cities, using air quotes again, are going to hear about this. They're going to find some grant money. They're going to do something to bring this stuff to a town near you. And it ain't just the blue areas.
Nope.
It will come. If car-free living was in Orr, Minnesota, now, it's been a while since I've been to Lake Hagatoga, about 10 years.
Yeah.
But my point being, if that comes there, I still to this day can't believe that I saw that.
Yeah.
Whatever the big lake is in Orr. But, I mean...
Pelican.
But unbelievable.
Yeah.
Your nearest neighbor's 10 miles away. But car-free living.
Hook that boat up to the back of your bike.
Cartwheel there or somersault. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you get anywhere when it's 20 below, but I mean,
yeah,
it's if it can come there, what do you people? I mean, and again, this is where we've got to stop worrying about who's Republican and Democrat, who is left and right, who's liberal conservative. The elites, and they want us fighting each other. That's what they want. It should be the people versus the people trying to control us.
Yes.
Is what it should be. You want to not eat meat? You want to be a vegan or what do you call it? Okay, that's your choice. I'm not telling you what to do.
It's out there. There's plenty of product. Just don't make me do it.
Right, exactly. I am going to eat steak, period.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat burgers. I'm going to do it till the day I die.
I'm going to do it till you can convince me that what I'm doing is putting the entire earth in jeopardy. Good luck.
And I'll do it anyway.
Good luck.
So
good luck to you, sir.
That's what freedom's all about. To me, I mean, I encourage people to do good things and hope they don't do bad things. What more can I do?
Yeah. So, that's it.
I like people to believe in God, but I can't force you to. We have a First Amendment in this country.
Right.
So that's your choice. And I respect that. I'd like you to do one thing.
But yet I will make the argument that is because we've divorced ourselves from God that we are seeing all of this stuff happen that none of us like.
I will agree with that. I think we've lost our moral compass. I
Absolutely.
think that's absolutely true. And I do think the decline in religion, the decline in moral standards, and the decline, it all can be traced. Who am I to talk? I don't either, but I mean, there is but again, I'll say this much: I do believe you can be a good person and not be a super religious person. I do believe that that's true. But the bedrock, put it to you this way: this is why I think so many environmentalists are atheists, because they don't believe in anything beyond our Earth, and people yearn for a God. They yearn for that.
So they make
I don't believe
the Earth into a God.
Right. Earth has become, the environment has become their universe.
Yes.
So, and that is because it has replaced a God. And I've made that case a million times. You talk to environmentalists, I guarantee you they're an atheist.
Yeah. But a lot of times with atheism as well, I don't know.
You know this more than me, Jay, and we can go off on a religious tangent.
Are they truly an atheist, or are they worshiping the earth? And also with most atheists, they might not have a God that you can name, but really they do. They worship themselves. And because they worship themselves, there is a whole other level of not being able to do what's right by other people because your sole focus is you.
Well, quite frankly, I know a lot of people like that.
Well, yeah.
Well, I guess my answer to that is people yearn to have a God. I think they do.
Oh, absolutely. That's how we're created.
So if you want to reject a certain church or religion or what you were forced on you as a kid or whatever, or what you think was, you still have that desire. And then you make it Mother Nature. You make it the sun.
Right.
It just, I don't know. That's for another day. We'll talk about that and Robert Tilton and Oral Roberts.
Well, if
that's honestly, Jay, I got to tell you something. I want to tell you this much.
Yeah.
I would love to sit down and talk a couple hours of religion with you.
Yeah.
Like somebody else, because I have, now that I am, maybe I should.
Yeah.
Okay. And studies show that I've lived 60% of my life, which is painfully depressing.
Yes.
You start thinking differently than you did when you were younger. It's just me. I've had my own experiences with religion that I won't get into now. Some of it positive, some of it negative. And there comes a time though where I got to get better at this. Because I do consider myself. Okay, you know what? We're going to save it for another show.
Okay.
I'm not going to get into it now. Because I'll go off for 2.5 hours about it. No, it's not good.
No, I think in that time we'll be able to make some good headway.
We'll see. I'm pretty stubborn.
Well, I mean, you consider yourself a Christian, so I mean, there's really nothing. I'm just going to throw this out there. We'll get into it later, but you considering yourself that, you don't have to. I got to be careful how I say it. Going to a church doesn't make you a Christian. Believing that Jesus died on a cross, rose again for your sins, and went to go be with the Father, and he's coming back someday. That's what makes you a Christian. But it's our constant submitting our lives to be disciples of, they called it the way back then, that transform us into being Christ-like, which is our goal. And
I can't hold myself to that high of a standard.
Well, I mean, none of us are going to ever be able to reach that. And again, we're getting off. But
if anybody could do it, it would be me.
Right, right, absolutely. But it talks about how we see ourselves poorly, like in a dimly lit mirror, and that it will never really be a great reflection of Jesus until we cross over to the other side. And again, whole other podcast. But don't get too down on yourself. We'll have a conversation. And you know what? I think that maybe we'll be able to come around on.
Well,
some
we'll
things.
see. We'll see. I don't know why it's kind of like conspiracy theories. I have just gotten a itch to learn more.
That's good.
I've gotten I'm always, one thing you have to be willing to do in life is you have to be willing to learn and listen. And I've gotten better at that with age. I know running for office made me realize that I was not a good listener.
Yeah.
That trying to shout people down is not how you change minds. Not that I did that, but I mean,
yeah.
You just get a different perspective on, taking other people's concerns and other people's feelings and not focused on you and why you want to do something.
Right.
It's hard to explain, and maybe that's another podcast.
That's why the greatest songs of all time make you feel something that you identify with.
Yeah.
Them,
That's why the great music's all in the past. Except
for mine.
Yeah, except your what's your CD? Yellow Submarine.
Our Troubled Hearts.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So I mean, that's the exception, Jay.
Right.
You're the one out here, but
the one bright shining example.
By the way, we never touched on Jimmy Buffett's passing. Did
No.
we touch on that?
No.
Are you a Jimmy Buffett fan?
No.
No. Okay.
I just never really got into him. I don't know. I don't think he's bad or anything.
I was just surprised. He was in his late 70s, but
is Margaritaville a good song?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. It's kind of like the Eagles. Every song's about laying on a beach, hanging 10, and there's just nothing to that. Really.
I like the Eagles. But yeah,
you know what?
I get
The
it.
favorite band of every woman over 70.
Really?
Yep, that's pretty much it.
Thought that was Neil Diamond.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't
is
know.
he one of the Eagles?
No.
Oh, okay. I know the Eagles. I know them.
Yeah.
Just like I knew the Grateful Dead. It's the one guy who sings Boys of Summer. Don't tell me. Henley? Don Henley?
Don Henley, the drummer.
There was Glenn Fry.
Yeah.
And then there was like
Heat
two
is
other
on.
guys.
Yeah.
So I got 2 out of 4.
Timothy B. Schmidt, who was the second bass player, actually. The first bass player is escaping me.
I think it was Jimmy Page.
Yeah. Really?
I don't know.
Oh, my word. And then Joe Walsh is kind of like the lead guitar player.
Okay, I know who he is. Okay,
Right.
yeah.
Life's been good
But
to
wait,
me so far.
The
Yeah.
Grateful Dead were Jerry Garcia, Mickey Hart, David Grisham, and Bob Weir, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
Well, you don't know that?
I was never really into the Grateful Dead. Liked a couple of songs, but I know.
Riding that train,
Oh boy,
high on cocaine. That was you, wasn't it? Back in the 60s?
I wasn't alive in the
okay.
'60s.
Thought you were in college back then at Berkeley.
I was also going to say Don Felder was a member of the Eagles as well, who was replaced later. But yeah. Anyways,
Anyway,
Yes.
why don't you give us some words here, Jay? Because
yeah.
it was a rough show. We went all over the place. But we're known to do that. And it's good when we do that.
Yeah.
C40, I hate 40's my new least favorite number, and C is my least favorite letter now. Jay,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to introduce you here. Well, I have to. Styling and profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling, dealing, son of a gun. Jay, take it away.
All right, thanks, Andrew. I feel like, based on our discussion here, I need to read some lyrics from. We'll put a bonus song this week into the Spotify playlist. How about that?
Well, we haven't done that in 6 years.
Songs from the podcast. Well, I put a couple of bonus songs in there. This one is called "Gotta Serve Somebody" by Bob Dylan. Because he had it right. You may be an ambassador to England or France. You might like to gamble. You might like to dance. You may be the heavyweight champion of the world. You may be a socialite with a long string of pearls. But you're going to have to serve somebody. Yes, indeed. You're going to have to serve somebody. Well, it may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. You might be a rock and roll addict prancing on the stage. You might have drugs at your command, women in a cage. You might be a businessman or some high-degree thief. They may call you doctor or they may call you chief. But you're going to have to serve somebody. Yes, indeed. You're going to have to serve somebody. Well, maybe the devil or maybe the Lord, but you're going to have to serve somebody. And it goes on and on and on. Basically saying, if you are alive, you're serving somebody. You're serving something. And you got to take a look. Are you serving yourself? Are you serving the greater evil? I can't call it the greater good. I can't call it the common good, because this climate agenda is evil. I'm sorry. When you're taking away people's freedom, you're taking away people's cars, you're taking away people's food supply, you're taking away people's possessions, it's evil. And I will never stand with you, and I will never bow the knee to you, because I don't serve you, and I never will. Now, I hope that there are another 3 to 4 million Minnesotans out there that agree with me that that is exactly where we need to stand. But we've been pretty quiet. And we have not only seen the Democrats push a lot of garbage in this state over the last year and a half, we have seen the Republicans go along with some of it. We have seen Republicans that continue to do backroom deals. We've seen Republicans that continue to sign on to omnibus bills that have terrible effects, that limit the freedom of religious schools to be able to have a PSEO program if they make people adhere to their faith, that bring policies that cause the cities to withdraw their police officers. And yes, there are fights beginning in these schools already now in week 2 or 3 of the school year where people are getting seriously hurt because Republicans will not stand. We need, it is early enough right now that I'm sorry, if you have some namby-pamby Republican representing your district and somebody doesn't stand up and challenge them in the primary season, that is part of the problem. We need die-hard, conservative, freedom-loving Minnesotans to stand up and say, no more. Not in my name, not in my state. And I will take it to you. And you know what? There are a lot of us out there that feel that way. We would support you. We would go to the mat for you. But no more of this just swampy behavior. Sorry. I don't stand behind it. You make me yawn. I'm not going to support you if that's how you come at it. You know, we have a liberal side to this state that is do what I say, not as I do. Here they say you have to root all religion out of anything political, anything that gets money from the government, no religion. But yet they're willing to, and you know, with money that they're getting from the state, it's all right to go to the local museum and have a demon summoning service as a fun activity for kids, family-friendly demon summoning. What? Okay, so you can do that, but I can't. If I show up and I want to have a family-friendly worship service, I'm not allowed to do that, but you can summon demons. I'm sorry, that's still religion. Some people call it Wicca. Some people call it Satanism. Wokeism is a religion. But yet you don't take a break from pushing those. So maybe you can fill me in a little bit on what the rules really are, because they seem to apply to one group of people and not the other. And like I said, there are too many Republicans that are just letting it go with a big collective yawn as they either sit back and they don't fight it, or they actually sign on to it. It's got to end. We need heroes and patriots to stand up and get into the process and make these things known, to start blogs, to start podcasts, to have YouTube shows, whatever it takes to let people know what's going on in the state, let people know what's going on in your city, in your township, in your school district, in your area. It's all happening right under our noses. We need people to run for office and to step into the primary process and unseat any of these soft, squishy Republicans that are not conservative. Where are those who are willing to stand? Where are our George Washingtons? Where are our John Adams? Where are our Thomas Jeffersons? That's what we need in this day and age. People who are willing to sacrifice their own good to make sure that things are left for their children and their grandchildren in a better state than we found them. And the only way we're going to do that is if we come together and we put forth an effort. Really, it's going to take less than 2% of conservatives in this state running for office in order to change the conversation at the local level. That's it. We can do this. But we've got to change everything. We've got to root out the progressive policies. We've got to root out the very way that we do local government, because it's a zero-sum game. The progressives already put into place a progressive method of governing that we've got to be serious about rooting out. Every city in Minnesota should be a charter city with a strong mayor, even if it's a part-time strong mayor. There should be a separation of powers. All the administrative apparatus of the local government should be subservient to somebody that's elected. We fought a war over that. Taxation without representation. Well, every city, every county, every school district is set up with taxation without representation. What are you going to do about it? We can't go fight in a civil war, but you sure can stand up and say no and put your hat in the game. And I guess I'm mixing metaphors there, but you can say, me, I will stand. If that's you today that is feeling that tug at your heart, that you're sick and tired of what's going on and you actually want to do something about it, give us a call. Give us an email. Let us know. You can get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. We have helped put people into offices at every level of local government. School boards, city councils, county boards. Heck, we're willing to help get into the sheriff and county attorney game. Whatever it takes to turn the tide back so that we have something that we can be proud of again. Not something where we hide our head in shame every time our leaders speak out. We can do this. But you got to get a hold of us, and we got to work together. It's going to take the unity of all of us together to change this, but we can do it. City by city, county by county. So that's where we leave you after this fine podcast that we've had today. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.
get too caught